Welcome to Break Free to Brilliance podcast, where heart centered entrepreneurs, visionaries, and the everyday heroes in your backyard are helping the world break free to live life more purposefully, one story at a time. I am Seema Giri, your host, an award winning author, entrepreneur, and holistic lifestyle strategist. Today's show is sponsored by Uplift Media. For strategies on how to break free to your brilliance and get your free gift, 10 Ways to Live a Dynamic Life, visit seemagiri.com. Today our special guest is Tiffany Kiefer. She is a manifesting mentor and coach. She is also the co-author in her book, Break Free to Stand in Your Power, releasing June 17th. Tiffany, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Seema. I am eternally grateful for having me. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I'm so excited about our interview, but before we get started with that, I would like to do a quick grounding meditation, and then we'll continue with this exciting interview with you. So if we can just close our eyes and take a few deep cleansing breaths. You can take a deep breath all the way down to your belly and exhale. And as you are settling in, just bring your focus to the here and now. There's a lot of things we were doing before. We might have carried that energy into right now. And I'm sure there's a lot of things that you need to take care of afterwards, and you're thinking about that right now. So just let go of everything. You have plenty of time to tend to everything else a little bit later. Give the gift of being present to yourself right now. And I believe we have all joined together for a reason, including our audience, our listeners. Those who have tuned in right now have tuned in because there's something in their hearts that they know need to be heard today by you. So take in another deep breath and gently open your eyes. We can gently open our eyes now.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said be open. Sorry. I was getting messages, and so I was actually, sorry, I was talking with my inner self, and so saying, really, you want me to tell them that?
Well, that's perfectly fine, because that's how these grounding exercises are. And that was the whole purpose, was to connect within ourselves and be present. So what messages did you get?
So the message that I got was that they have to decide, not try. That try is not a word. It's a word that they have to take out of their vocabulary. It's either decide or not decide.
Right. And those are very specific and definitive. And I've also heard, and I really believe this, that try is actually a negative word. It's not a positive word. Right?
Yep.
Because it doesn't really take you anywhere.
Right.
Right? And it just
puts
gives
you in a stalled mode.
I'm sorry?
It puts you in a stalled mode.
Exactly. You're really not getting anywhere from point A to point B. And that's what we want to do, is go from point A to point B.
Yes.
So you either decide you're going to do something, and it doesn't matter if you fail, but at least you're in action of doing something. And
Absolutely.
or you decide not to do that, and you know you're going to be exactly where you want to be, you're not going to move. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
wow. And that is the intention with our book is too, is to let the readers know that it is possible to break free. And I think every single 17 authors have said that the first thing you need to do is to make that decision.
Hmm.
So, Tiffany, what made you decide, or what made you inspire to participate in our Break Free to Stand in Your Power book?
So my main purpose in life is to co-create a positive transformational happiness experience. When I was presented with this opportunity, I knew that being surrounded with such positive, thoughtful, grateful, kindful, profound leaders was where I fit in. And I knew that that's where I needed to be. I knew that that is where I was able to fit in and make shift happen and make energy start to build momentum in a positive flow.
Mhm.
And so I'm just grateful that I was given the opportunity.
I picked up two things that I feel is really important from what you said: build momentum
Hmm.
and be in flow.
Hmm.
What can that look like for people?
So when you start to build momentum, then you are on if you could build momentum in either way, in a negative or a positive momentum. It depends on what you're focusing on.
Mm.
So if you choose to focus on what you want to create, then you're in a positive flow. But if you're choosing to focus on what is, then you're choosing to focus on what's in front of you. So what we teach, or what Jill and I teach, is to focus on what you want so you can create positive momentum and create positive flow within your life, and create appreciation, gratitude, happiness, joy, all of the upper level emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And then you know that if you fall into the lower level vibrations, all you need to do is to think about the next best thought to bring you up the emotional scale, to create better flow of emotion to bring you back up. And it might just be one little step.
Exactly. When you were saying that, I just got an image of climbing out of the pool on those ladders, one step at a time, and
Yep,
coming out of the water one step at a time. And that's really
absolutely.
how simple it is to change your
Hmm.
vibration.
It is. It's just one step at a time. And a lot of people think, when they look at me and they're like, "But you're happy all the time. How I can't be like you." You don't have to be like me. You don't have to wake up happy. My daughter doesn't wake up happy. She is not a morning person. But you don't have to be happy all the time. All you need to do is think of the next best feeling thought to help you up the vibrational or the emotional scale, to help you up to feel good. The whole premise of creating a positive emotion, or a positive flow to help you move downstream, is to feel joy. So however that feels to you, or to feel love, however that feels to you, is the next best feeling thought.
So let's give an example so people can understand it a little bit better and have a better grasp on it. So if you're angry,
Mm-hmm.
what is the next best thought? You can't go from angry to joy, right?
No, you can't. So if you're angry, the next best feeling thought could be frustration. right?
Mm.
You could feel, you could be super angry with somebody, but if if you now have gone to where you wanted to strangle somebody and you just wanted to like, "Ugh," but now you've gone to where, well, I don't want to kill them, but I could just, they're just irritating me, or I'm just a little frustrated with how they're acting. I can be in their presence feels better than if I'm in their presence, I just really want to hit them, which is more of an angry feeling, right? And so the next best feeling thought would be frustration. And you're just, I can be around them and they're just kind of irritating me, right?
So what do? Take a deep breath and just say, okay, I am now going to think that I'm frustrated with this individual or the situation.
No, you actually, you take yourself completely out of the situation.
Okay.
The next best feeling thought would be not in that situation. The next best feeling thought, if you were very angry with somebody and I told you to think of something positive about that somebody, you would be like, there is nothing positive about that person. I am super mad at them.
Right.
So if I told you to think about what brings you, what did you do yesterday, or what's your favorite food, or do you like chocolate, or do you like ice cream, or do you love the beach? So what makes you feel good? What is that next best feeling thought that could take you right out of anger?
Mm.
So not bring you go from anger all the way up to joy, but can relieve the anger. So if you're really pissed off at somebody, right? Let's say your child really made you angry, and you're like, oh my God, I'm so mad at them. They just cannot listen to me, and I'm very frustrated with them, and they just scream and they're disrespectful, and I'm going to pull my hair out. You know, they want to play video games all the time, and I don't know what to do with myself. If you're able to take a time out and think about what helps you calm down, or what helps you feel good, or what you like to eat. And I'm only thinking about what you like to eat, what feels good, where you went on vacation. Those are all examples.
Mm-hmm.
So not that you're going to think about all three of those things at once, right? You're going to think about one. But those are going to help you think about the next best feeling thought, to help you bring you out of the anger. So you're super angry, and now you're able to go, okay, I just thought about the vacation that we're going to take in December. We're going to go to Palm Springs. It's going to be great. Okay, now I'm going to come back to my child, and they're really having the temper tantrum and they're being disrespectful. Okay, I can deal with them. Now I'm just a little frustrated.
Mm.
So do you see how taking myself out of the equation, I took myself somewhere else to my vacation in December, and I brought myself back to the equation. I'm not angry anymore. I move myself up the emotional scale. I'm able to come back to the situation, a different vibrational emotion. So I'm not coming back with that knee-jerk reaction where I just want to hit them over the head with a baseball bat, which sometimes moms, when they're super frustrated, want to do, especially during this COVID time, where I was taking a walk the other day and a mom was so frustrated. She threw all of her, I kid you not, she threw all of her child's stuff in the garbage can.
Oh, wow.
She took all of her boxes. The child had a box of her books and toys, and the mom had a box of her books and stuff. and threw it in the trash. And she says she was cursing and yelling, but that's what happens when a mom gets so angry and isn't able to take a time out to go to that next level, right? And that's kind of when you just take that 1 second and think about something else, and you can come back to the situation. You don't have to go all the way to happiness, right?
Right, right. No, thank you for illustrating that, because I know this is exactly what people need to learn at this time, because being cooped up, or not knowing what's going to happen, when things are going to open up completely, when we're going to be safe again, 100%, to be as free as we were before. Our world
Mm-hmm.
is changing without any of our control in it, and it's really difficult. So with this illustration, I think people can get a good idea and be tremendously helpful to just know these steps. And it's just simple things. And when you said time out, it's really difficult, especially for parents who have younger kids, to get a time alone and away from them. So this is a good tip. Parents can just say, we're giving ourselves a time out.
They
And
can
kids
go
are
to
not
the
going to want to be
bathroom.
here, because that's considered, oh, that means, you're being punished for something.
Well, that's what it used to mean. You know, back when I was babysitting, timeout was a punishment,
Yes.
right? You know, you were bad, you got a timeout, you know. But now timeout is actually you have timeout to read. You're taking time out off of electronics to do something productive, right? And parents are actually taking time out to regroup, which is super cool.
And it's super important. I mean, sometimes I think even if the kids are crying, let them cry, just step away. Like you were saying, go, mentally somewhere else. If you can't, step away, it's really difficult. So,
Mm-hmm.
what is the name of your chapter, and what is it that you would like your readers to experience as they read your chapter?
So my chapter is called Choose to Be Fearless. And it really doesn't have anything to do with children. but what it has to do with is deciding. Because I used to be a doer. I used to be like, oh, I'm going to do this. I had all these amazing ideas and I never did them.
Mm,
I had a list of ideas and I just was a doer. I was a doer. I was a doer. And I'm a survivor of numerous addictions. I used to be, super overweight, and I've not only been food addicted, but I've also been just many addictions. So when you decide that you are ready to make a change, it's so easy
mm-hmm.
to make that change. It's when you say, yeah, I think this is a good idea. That's what I'm going to do. And that's how you say, I'm deciding, that it doesn't happen and you don't fully commit. And that's what I used to do. And when I fell into my depression and I didn't have any way out, I finally had a wake up call and said, I'm always a happy person. What am I doing? And I had to decide to pull up my big girl panties and say, enough's enough. And I did. And so now I've always been kind of a coach. I've always been, the person people come to, and it was time to just wake up and say, now's the time to make a shift.
It's so true. Unfortunately, we have to go to such lengths of pain and suffering before we make that decision. And that is one of the things that we want to bring to people's awareness is you don't have to go to that length. Look at what's happened with all of us, where we
Mm-hmm.
went. That's what it looks like. So catch yourself early, make the decision now, and start
Mm-hmm.
taking those baby steps to make the shift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I love about this book is that it's showing you 17 examples of how to protect yourself of not doing it yourself.
Yes. Yes.
And so if you can read them and head yourself off at the pass and arm yourself, but not only that, if you're a mom or if you're a dad and you can arm your children with the tools and tips and tricks that are in this book from the 17 magnificent authors that are in this book, what a gift you're going to be giving your legacy. I mean, this book is phenomenal.
I am so glad you really brought that up, Tiffany, because really it's it's about not only healing ourselves, but what if we can do that for the generations? We
Mm-hmm.
think about generational wealth in terms of money, but what about health and wellness and mental wellness?
Mm-hmm.
And that can only happen. One is to lead by example, make those changes now, and then children and other people learn more by observing you and seeing what you're doing
Yep.
versus what you are saying. So the, that is such a huge blessing to be able to give that to the next generation and the next generation because since we're both into spirituality
Mm-hmm.
and we're both energy healers, we know that we can still be affected of the generational pain and suffering or thought process mindset that has happened generations ago.
All of the people behind in front of us and 7 generations ahead of us. So
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly. But if we can break that pattern, even if it's a little bit at a time, even if it's a little bit in this lifetime, if you believe in lifetimes,
Mm-hmm.
it makes a huge difference in future generations. And since I've started doing that, I think I'm one of, or maybe the only family member within my family to have made such a drastic change and make some drastic breaking the pattern in such a drastic way. I can actually see the difference in my children.
Well, your daughter's amazing. Transformation that she's been doing is just amazing, and the shift that she's doing within her peers and the leader that she's becoming is all because of you. It takes us moms to be the mirror for our generation,
Yeah,
whether they mirror it right now or they mirror it when they are the mom and then they kick into gear, or they're the dad and they kick into gear and they're like, and they start to rattle off or they start to do it right.
exactly, exactly. I used to think when I had to do certain things or really cross a certain bridge that was really scary, I used to look at my mom's like, okay, if my mom can do it, then I can do it. And I thought that was just a female thing that, since I'm a female and my mom, that the boys are not so much affected by that. But it's actually even the sons in the family
Mm-hmm.
get a lot of support and belief around what they can do from the mother as well as the father. So we're always pairing up daughters and mothers together and fathers and sons together. But it's also the opposite because I also see that confidence of handling certain things by my son because of what changes I've made and vice versa also. So it's really where whatever sexist children we have, it makes a huge impact. And I think today more than ever, it's really, really important for parents to look at their own lives and see how they're unintentionally passing that on to their children. And if they can catch that and change that, regardless of how old the kids are. Sometimes we think, oh, our kids are adults now, so it's too late. When you come back to them, even as adults, and say, you know, when you were growing up or at that time, I said this or had behaved in this manner and I shouldn't have, I'm sorry. It's a great healing for the adult children as well.
I mean, my children are 18 and 21, and my son is going through right now what I went through at the same age.
Mm.
I was his weight then, and he is losing the weight that I was losing then.
Oh,
And he sees that because I lost it, he can lose it.
yes.
So he's encouraged by that, right? I mean, I lost 178 pounds, and he's encouraged by that, right? And he knows he can do it. And so we as moms, even though we're women, we are examples for our sons.
Yes. And look at that. How beautiful is that? What you just said is so amazing. And it all starts with one family at a time, then expands to friends and expands to community,
Mm-hmm.
expands to your your geographic
Yeah,
area, and then the nation, and then globally.
right.
And that's the focus, and that's the loving kindness that we need to bring into this world, especially now.
Yeah. I with the fact that you said happiness and kindness. So I have to share this. I did this a year and a half ago. I had to do this, when you go into this like group setting, a lunch thing,
Hmm.
you do this exercise, and you go, like, it was a lunch and learn, and you have to say um, what your favorite things are, your top 10 favorite things are. And so I got down to my top 10 things. My top two things were, as they went down the thing, one of my top things was to be in love with my husband.
Hmm.
And my 10th thing was to that one surpassed everything, to be utterly and totally in love with my husband, surpassed everything until I got to number 10. And number 10 said to start a happiness and kindness movement to spread across the world.
Hmm.
And that trumped being in love with my husband,
Wow.
because I knew that if I could do that, I would automatically be utterly in love with my husband, because he would do it with me.
Hmm.
And in October of 2018, I did that. I went globally and spread Rise Up and Shine kindness and happiness movement around the world. And I went over to Europe and spread a kindness, happiness movement. And we came back with over 7,500 followers.
Wow, that is amazing. You are an amazing lady, Tiffany. And I've really felt that impact too in my life since we've been working with as leaders within the community and within the women community
Mm-hmm.
as well. And it's just been amazing. And the transformation, I mean, you said you lost 178 pounds as if it was nothing, and I'm proud. That's a huge transformation. That is not an easy thing to do. And you must have come across so many obstacles as you were going through, because that's really a fight within yourself, isn't it?
It's a constant fight. I mean, I did that 20 years ago, and it's a constant fight to keep it off. Um, it, um, I struggled. So I went from being bulimic
Mm.
to having the hand and mouth disorder from my hand to my mouth. And then so I struggled with one addiction to another addiction, to alcohol, to, um, to exercising all the time. So numerous addictions. Not that I'm an alcoholic. So I never went to a 12-step or 10-step or whatever program, but you constantly find yourself with the next thing that you're obsessed with for control.
Mm.
And with being obsessed with weight loss or getting healthy or what's going inside my body, I kind of had to just figure out the only way to do it was to be conscious.
Yes.
Be conscious about what I'm putting in my body. If I'm conscious of it and I'm okay with it, then I'm okay with it. But if I was focused and conscious and forgiving, everything was good. It was when I beat myself up, then that's the problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. It's thank you for sharing that, and that you were able to release all of those things. It is so possible. You just need to spread the loving kindness within yourself first
Mm-hmm.
and be conscious of everything. And another most important thing you said is forgiving. We always think we need to forgive externally, but you also need to forgive yourself for so many things. I think we hold a higher level of expectation from ourselves versus what that we would do for with someone else.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Yeah. If you don't forgive yourself first, there's no way you could forgive anybody else. I mean, from I had to forgive myself first because I was molested from the time I was 5 till I was 10. I had to forgive myself first for feeling like I allowed it, or feeling like I was the bad person, or feeling like I was the problem, before I could forgive the person that did it.
Mm, yes, I can totally see that. I can totally see that.
And then it was so much easier to do that. And just like uh, um, with the addictions or the weight loss or the bulimia, I forgave me and then I was able to forgive my parents or whatever for saying, oh, I had big legs, even though they were just protecting me, like,
Mm.
oh, you shouldn't wear short shorts. They weren't. They were just being parents. They weren't doing anything wrong, right?
Right.
But as a child of 13, you're like, oh my gosh, right?
Exactly.
Um, so I had to forgive me first. And a lot of times people do it backwards. So,
Mm.
like, I have to forgive the predator or the problem first, and they're not looking within. They're not doing the self love first.
Mhm.
Once you love yourself, everything else is easy. And I think one of your other interviews talked about self love
Yeah.
and how you have to love yourself first.
Yes, yes, we've had that conversation, and that is true. You have to love yourself first. When you're loving yourself, you're really teaching other people how to care for you. Because if have you ever noticed some people where people are like, "Oh, you better not say this to her, or you better behave in a certain way," because they've showed that that you need to be in a certain way with me, otherwise I'm not going to tolerate tolerate or accept that. And people think that you have to be um, aggressive or assertive to do that. You don't. You can do it in a very loving way, and that is by loving yourself. And then people will react to you differently. And we're both, or all 17 people, 17 authors, are examples of that among so many others. But your whole life changes when you do that.
Mm-hmm.
you know. So we want our listeners to think, what would it be like to be totally in love with yourself? What would life be like? What would life look like? And I think that's what we all need to do, especially in these times. I mean, there's so much anger and frustration. I think people start looking within and start working that way and start loving themselves.
Hmm.
So many, we can overcome so many of the challenges that is happening in addition to the pandemic that we're experiencing.
Yep.
Tiffany, you've given us so many wonderful tips, but is there any one more tip that you would like to give for our listeners that maybe they can start implementing right away?
Wow, you almost opened a can of worms with loving yourself. But I'm gonna go back with decide, because I can go on a whole nother tangent with loving yourself. But I'm gonna go back to decide. And once you decide to focus on what you want rather than what is, your entire life will shift.
And even with the self-love and that we're talking about self-care, it all, even that starts with a decision. So I think that is a perfect advice at this time, that, the first step is to make a decision and then you
Mm-hmm.
move forward with that. Perfect.
Yeah.
Tiffany, thank you so much for your vulnerability and your authenticity with sharing your story. Your transformation is amazing. I think
Thank you.
I've gotten so much value. I'm sure our listeners will also.
Well, I'm so grateful to you, Seema, for allowing me to be on this journey with everybody else. I hope that everybody else picks up this book, because wow, the authors, to be in their presence has lifted me up tremendously, and to be in your presence has just been an honor. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, we're going to impact the world together. And until
Mm-hmm.
next time, this is Seema. Thank you for joining us for this interview. I hope you've gained some insights and or tips that you can implement right away. For more interviews like this, please visit us at seemagiri.com or visit our YouTube channel, Break Free to Brilliance with Seema Giri. Until next time, have a great day.